but this is what I tell guys because they're like, well, what does she want? What does she want? She doesn't know what she wants. Women don't know what they want.
Hi, baby.
Darling, what do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I suppose like roll the clip here.
What comes first? Men learning to show up and hold women well in relationship, or women letting go of a legacy of hating men programmed through the agendas of feminism and a legacy of masculine wounding? That's the chicken or the egg problem that we lie in currently within our culture. Thousands of women asking where are the conscious men, and the conscious men show up and they're castrated. How do we unstick this block? It's not enough for men to show up if they're just going to be decimated. In fact, they know better. And so let's say I spend the next 10 years teaching men how to really show up in relationship. What comes next? Finding their way home to women who actually want to love them. And therein is the dilemma we have in society. We are at a place where everybody wants their needs, wants, and desires to be met. But are you willing to rise above them to serve? That's what men need. Women who are here to serve them with compassion, softness, and love, admiration, and respect. And what women need is men who are willing to show up from a place of discipline, determination, the capacity to hold them, to co-create relationship visions. The problem is there's this chicken and the egg dynamic where it's like, well, if the good men show up, we'll love them, but will you? Because what I see is a culture full of women who hate men. And until we really rectify this problem, it's not enough to just train men in coming back into their masculinity. There's a truce at a deep level that needs to happen.
So
Okay.
regarding the video that we just watched, like we were talking about the chicken or the egg analogy of which comes first, like men learning to show up for women and to hold women well in relationships, or women letting go of a legacy of hating men through modern day feminism. Now, my take on the video, I 100% agree with him. I think women need to drop the feminism because, and I feel like I'm a living example of that because I used to be that girl of like, fuck men. Like, I don't need men. Like, I don't need that. Like, we can hold off on our own and do all these things and stuff like that. And then I got out of a really bad relationship and I was like, this is not what I want. And I want to be a stay-at-home housewife and I want to be able to do that. And there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur as well. But to say that we don't need men is ridiculous and um it's just not possible for women to live in life. As we discussed in our last episode, it's something that we need for stability. And when women are heavy, like who are like heavy modern day feminists, they're heavily in their masculine and they attract men that are going to lay down and just do nothing. They'll be like, whatever. She runs the relationship. It is what it is with that. And like, he doesn't feel inspired to lead. And then women get overwhelmed with this as well. And they feel like they have to nag each other and just be like, well, you do this, do that. Why don't you do anything? It's like, hey, well, you're an independent woman. You don't need anything for you, right? And then men also don't feel supported in a relationship. And um, I feel like it's constant competition when a woman is that way of like, I don't need you, I don't need this, like I can hold off on my own. And instead of having harmony and supporting each other and remembering that they're on the same team, it's everyone fend for themselves. So I definitely agree that women need to drop that in order to be able to attract a conscious men who are willing to actually hold themselves and support them in the relationship.
Can't argue with any of that.
Mhm.
Um, I want to take it out of the context of because I see this on a much deeper and spiritual playing field than most people are capable of understanding. Um, but I want to take it out of the context of feminism because I don't think that's really helpful. I There's two things here. I totally agree with everything he says at the end of the video. For the
Mhm.
most part, there's some things that I want to pick apart. Um, Not that he's wrong whatsoever. Um, when it comes to women and healing and doing their part. But the real question is, like, what comes first? You know, he pointed out the problem that if a conscious man shows up at your doorstep, what are you going to do then? Right. And I've experienced in my extensive dating life, after developing this sense of self and becoming more conscious, women who were deeply spiritual and understood the ideas, but didn't embody the truth that they wanted for themselves. So I know what it's like to be with a woman who can't really surrender to the masculine, you know. And in those experiences for me, darling, because I'm so self conscious, well, not self conscious like, but I look within rather than looking at the other person. I see, okay, where am I not meeting this, or like what am I what's this saying about me right now,
Mhm.
you know? Um there were a lot of times where I would overcorrect. Just try it out. It's okay. Well, maybe her needs are this way or whatever. And I can see where I have failed in that because at times I would let my standards sort of come down a bit so that I could meet her at her level, but that's always a mistake. Always. Because they're my standards, you know? But the point I want to get to is like it's not a chicken or egg problem, okay? And I have a bias here because I work with so many men, but
Mhm.
also keep in mind this, and this is going to bring us to the question about the Garden of Eden, but the masculine is responsible. The masculine leads. In the relationship, they set the tone for what the expectations are of what a relationship looks like.
Mhm.
He's the one who does that, and he'll do that if he's not conscious of that, he's going to do that subconsciously. It's going to be out of his control. Now, if you take a conscious man, insert him into a relationship with a supposedly conscious woman or a woman who wants a conscious man, okay, and she starts to bring him down or tear him down, as he said, that isn't that isn't necessarily, I don't see that as her responsibility. I see that as his for allowing that to happen,
Mhm.
you know. And there's other factors there too. Whether or not they're even compatible,
Mhm.
okay? And just because two people are conscious doesn't mean that they were good for each other. There's other factors there. But if he's giving up and giving into her tests, just like Eve gave Adam the apple, and what did he do with it? He bit it too. He ate it as well. If he goes and bites that apple, that's not her fault, even if she gave it to him,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So that's how I see that. So it's not a chicken or an egg problem.
Yeah. And I 100% agree with that as well, because we talked about this the other day on our other podcast, that at the end of it, we got back to, I said, men need to be taught, like, how to be able to hold women to be stable, and then you made a point that men need to be able to put that into practice as well, and I think that plays a massive part in this equation as well, and part of that's how I think our unity came about, to be honest, because with me, I used to be very much in my masculine, and not in a bad way per se, but I didn't necessarily wanna let go of control and surrender and let somebody else take lead in the relationship. From society standards and how I grew up in my household, the women always lead, and that was a relationship that I didn't want, so I had to be the one to surrender and change myself to be like, "Okay, what kind of attractor partner do I want to attract?" Um And then you went through that journey, your own personal growth to become a conscious man, and then that's how I think the both of us came together. So, it's definitely a both, it's not, and like you said, it's not a chicken or egg problem,
Well,
it's
I was highly in my, I mean, I was taught, and we can come back to feminism because, I was conditioned to make women happy the way I made mom happy, you know, like that's what I was taught. So I was doing the same things and my unconsciously looking for, in my previous marriage and my relationships, my long-term relationships, and hell, even I would attract masculine women because it was like mom. And I didn't realize that's what I was doing. I
mm,
just it felt familiar. And because it was familiar, I could navigate it. And if I could navigate it, I could have some sense of control, right? But I didn't. I didn't have any. And I
mhm,
was doing all the sort of nice guy behavior within it. And I would emasculate myself just to be accepted, just to be validated, uh just to have purpose within it, you know. Um be on a team, you know, make a power couple kind of thing.
mhm,
All of these ideas. And these are fantasies. These are fantasies that we see on TV. These are fantasies that, have been passed through storytelling over the
yeah,
last, I don't know, 100 years. And generation after generation, it seems to degenerate and to make and get worse. And this particular generation, and I mean this generation by, I don't know, what are you? What would you be considered? What is that?
ah, oh god, Gen Z maybe? I don't know. Like, I'm the one right after millennial.
Are you? No, you're
Yes.
not.
Gen X?
No.
No. I have no idea. I don't think it really matters. I don't
Are you?
particularly
I
care.
don't know. I'm what they call an elder millennial. I was the first. that first year was where millennials started. So I'm like,
82.
yep, I don't know. But anyway, that generation, if it's Gen X or whatever it is now, there's a serious distrust for the opposite sex,
Mm.
right? Can you hear that barking?
No.
Okay, good. And you can hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay. Um, when I was younger, that there there wasn't so much of that distrust, you know. I think social media has a lot to do with it. A lot of guys they don't want to focus on girls at all. They just want to focus on money because guys in my generation and older have, okay, go to school, get married, buy a house, do all the traditional things that we're told we're supposed to do, and we
Hmm.
go and do it, and we get slapped. We get hit hard with reality that you got to work twice as hard. You got to be twice the man, but we're not really shown what that even is. So they see that and they're just like, the guys, I'm specifically like guys that are in between, 19 and 28 right now.
Hmm.
They're seeing this and they're like, well, fuck that. I'm gonna focus on money because money is what gets you girls. Money is what gets you that. Money is what establishes you as a man. I need to be an alpha, right? The girls are also doing the same thing. I need to be a bad bitch. I don't need no man. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
but inside there's this deep longing to connect with each other. So they'll get into an agreement, a relationship with each other where it's very superficial and there's no real nothing really binding them other than sex,
Hmm.
you know, or common interests. And they think that's enough. Well, like I fell into that trap too when I was younger. And, just sort of lost frame and lost myself and would put myself away in a way that was both noble but also unhealthy for me, you know. Yeah, it was noble to a degree. But then when I couldn't regulate myself, that's when it all went to hell, you know. So, yeah, I mean, you said you talked about your masculine, I talked about my feminine. Both of those sides of us were more on the unhealthy spectrum, the
Yeah.
unhealthy side of the masculine and feminine within each other. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
And the way
Yeah.
I see it is like we each have a masculine and feminine within us. But even those sides have two sides.
Hmm.
I call them light and dark, but it's essentially healthy and unhealthy.
Hmm.
Right? And
Yeah.
we,
Exactly.
unless we really understand, or, we've been modeled that, so we have a good understanding of what healthy looks like. We don't know what that is, so we have to go dig. We got to figure it out, you know? Anyway, well, you said that women that are heavy and they're masculine attract men who will lay down and do nothing, and their man will not be inspired to lead.
Hmm.
Yeah, they won't be inspired to lead. Right? They'll sit and they'll play video games or watch sports or escape to the bars or, you know, escape into porn or drugs or whatever.
And then I find in that situation, because I've been in that situation as well, that women get worse. Like speaking for myself in my past relationships, when I was heavily in my masculine end, they kind of went into avoidance of being like, all right, well, she's going to do whatever. Like, I don't really have a say here. Then I would get to a point of like, hey, where is he? and then be like, "Why aren't you paying attention to me anymore? Why don't we spend time together?" And they're like, "I don't know, like, I don't really want to. Like, I just, like, kinda want my own space." And then we talked about play last time, and that disappears as well, because it's like, "I don't even want you in my space right now. I don't wanna touch you. I don't wanna do this." And women, they get that sense of rejection as well, and then it hardens them even more to go into their masculine.
Mhm.
And so the whole relationship dynamic, I find when women are really, really independent, it's super unhealthy.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they get super independent?
Part of it, like, just speaking off of my experience, like, I grew up with 3 brothers. So all of us were kind of raised the same, and I know obviously I was raised different in some other ways, but very similar. And so for me, I grew up hardworking. My dad always told me, "Make your own money. Like, don't rely on anybody else. Like, go and be able to take care of yourself. You should be able to change a tire. You should be able to go and do this." Do I think that's helpful for everybody? Yes. But I grew up in a household where it was like, take care of yourself. Get to a point where you do not have to rely on anybody. So that was my mindset. And I went
Yeah,
into
but
the world
why?
of like,
Why was that taught?
to be honest, I'm not sure with my dad. Like, I can see why he taught that to my brothers because my dad's kind of trapped in a situation where my mom hangs divorce over his head all the time. "I'll take everything from you if you leave, blah, 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 blah." And so I think it was from fear out of a
There
base
you
of
go.
that, of like,
That's it right there. It's
yes.
fear. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's fear. Protect yourself. You have to protect yourself.
Hmm.
Harden your heart. Be independent. Do that. Do all the things that you need to do. Don't rely on. Be self-reliant. Everything else. Right. What that does is it creates a void. Not only that, and this is my whole point. My whole point to this. Why it's not a chicken and egg problem. Okay. If a man, a conscious man, knows how to demonstrate fearlessness, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Hmm.
That creates the space for her to be able to understand what the hell's going on and see, have clarity about what's going on, right? Be able to dive into what the roots are of whatever's driving your protection. He's also aware of any of the manipulation that happens because women are really, really good at lying, you know, and because they're afraid, just comes out. Their mind and their mind and their heart and their voice just all at one time, you know, and men have to learn to be aware of that. Once you do learn that, and that's not impossible, you can ask.
Hmm.
I mean, me, the guys I work with, any of the conscious men that I know, like, and we are, among us, there are very few who see that all the time, who can just like, no, that's not it at all. Like when she
Hmm.
comes and says whatever, hmm, no, you know what? I don't think that's it at all, is it? Because the emotions get in the way of being able to have that clarity. If you're getting scared, if fear comes into the field, you're not able to actually call that out,
Hmm.
and that's where a man is the chicken. you know, not the egg.
Mm.
So, assuming that the chicken comes first before the egg, which is, I think, Egg never came first. Chicken did.
Mhm.
All right. I'm just saying that. I don't care if there's any argument to that. Chicken's first. Um, if you're able to do that, you can deal with the most narcissistic personality if that's what you want to do as a man. Okay. You probably will come to some limit as a man that this is just not worth it, you know? And then you just come to find out that that resistance this entire time was the whole solution, because there's nothing greater than there's no bigger a mirror to the other person than doing what's required. And sometimes it's walking away.
Yeah.
And it's like, I lost him because it's his fault. He's fucking whatever. And then it's like, wait a minute. He was really good to me. Sometimes it takes a long ass time. And I don't, there are definitely patterns and personality disorders with people. I don't want to, diminish that reality
Mhm.
because it's true. But I don't think that they're beyond saving.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to be a narcissist myself, you
Mm.
know, and I'm a very empathic person, but I see where like I have developed narcissistic capabilities. I see where I've been empathic. I think that the whole thing is just garbage. But this is why I believe that it's the job of the man to do it anyway, even if
Mm.
they're not met with the reward that's supposed to come from it,
Mm.
because it will.
Yeah.
Because if
Overdue
they're
time.
doing it, so Jordan Peterson says this: the uh, nature selects. So if nature selects, women are closer to nature. Okay, so the feminine selects. They're the ones who choose,
Mhm.
right? They get to pick, right? And who do they pick? They pick top guy. Who's the top guy?
Mm.
All right. How do they do that? The men create the game on what that is, what it means to be a man.
Mm.
Right now, today, in today's world, it's money. Money is status, everything that comes with money, lifestyle, whatever. Okay. That's what it means to be a man right now. And the, you know, this
Society and the
whole,
dating world. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So whoever's got more money, has more status, is winning. And because they're winning, women will flock to that guy. Right? They get to choose among, they get to pick. They can have pretty much any woman they want. So it's up to us to change what that game is.
Mhm.
We have to come together and compete. One, compete like we do. We're good at that. Okay. But we also have to come together to change the game. This is why I don't believe that they have their work to do, and they will. It's great that he's pointing that stuff out,
Mhm.
but it's completely wrong that it's up to the women to start moving, because most of the time in all of the calls that I've had with guys, the number one reason why their shit starts falling apart is because of how reactive they get to her emotional state.
Mm.
The number one reason they get into this sort of fight or flight response, fight where they'll do whatever they can to change her mood, make her happy again, change her
Yeah.
state, or they disconnect and they, go take a break, go have a cigarette, go just walk away from the situation, shut down.
Mhm.
until things cool off and nothing ever gets solved. That reactivity is the same sort of demonstration that what I heard in his explanation.
Mm.
Why should I have to do this work if she's just gonna continue being unconscious? Why would I even bother? That's why I don't like this. That's why I think that it's just the wrong question.
And you mentioned earlier as well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Hmm.
you mentioned as well that making sure that you're compatible in relationships as well and knowing what you want. Part of that with us as well, off the bat, as we started talking to each other way before we were dating, we were like, "Yeah, this is who we wanna be, like, as partners, this is what we're looking for in relationships," and we had our own personal growth, and we were like, "This is the relationship that we're headed for," and then it just so happened to be us. And yeah, but we had so much in common, and that's one thing that I wanna address as well. People say opposites attract, and sometimes people make that work, but that's not true. Like, if you can attract somebody who is basically the same as you can operate in sync together, and you can, um, if you're going biblically, like, be yoked up together. You're equally yoked to each other, and I think that is an absolutely beautiful thing, and I think that's the better way to go about it. Everybody's like, "Yeah, opposites attract." It's like, sure, if you're counting gender, but even nowadays, it's not the case. For years, it hasn't been the case with that. But, um, yeah, as far as, like, personality and traits and personal growth and mindset and values, you definitely wanna be on the same page.
Yeah. Well, opposites definitely don't attract that, you know. Um, I do think that um as sort of a universal law that opposites do attract, like they will come together, but it doesn't mean that they're gonna work together. Because as soon as the magnet flips, they're gonna repel. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
That's not necessarily true in that aspect. But when it comes to polarity, the masculine and the feminine attract each other.
mhm,
And the degree of femininity that you have matches well with the degree of masculinity I have. That's what creates that attraction. It's you know, I have a test that I've run guys through to determine just how much masculinity or femininity that they sort of reside in naturally,
mhm,
you know. Um, and a lot of them are surprised at how much femininity that they actually have,
mm,
you know. Um, you know, body, heart, and soul, not just like, oh, you watch sports, you do that. No, none of that fucking matters. None of that shit matters. It's how you make decisions. It's how you see things. It's what you gravitate to as far as the way you think.
mhm.
Those things determine it, not these superficial, I hang with the boys, I do boy shit. That makes me masculine. No, no, don't. Because watching football is a very feminine thing to do. It is.
Hanging around,
Get
just cooling
together
at
and
a
we
tree
all have
by the
fun and
stream.
forget about life and there's no structure, no responsibility. Playing football, competing, playing it, that's a different thing,
Yeah.
you know. Um yeah, so that's my thoughts on opposites attract.
Mm,
When you're playing
yeah.
like learning polarity is only going to get you so far. Most of the time you're not even ready to handle that, like until you can resolve some of these deeper seated trauma issues that put your nervous system into overdrive whenever you're dealing with someone, you know. You
Yeah.
gotta work on that first.
Mhm.
Um, I think women definitely they have a lot of work to do because a lot of the things that are pushed on you um, and sort of programmed into your guys' mind about what, the fantasies that are put in play for you that you feel like you want because they sound so damn good, they're gonna feel good, are they don't align with the reality of a conscious man,
Yeah.
you know. And if you're conscious, what that really means is that you value your connection with God, source, universe, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Okay. You value that connection and the purpose he has for you in this life,
Yeah.
you know. And that's number one.
Mhm.
So if the things don't align with that and you come across a woman who has that too, but she's got her own vision in life that doesn't align, doesn't mean that she's any less conscious.
Mm.
And if there's friction there because you're both trying to make it work, you're just
Mm.
speaking to your wounds and not being realistic about what the hell, where you're going in life.
Yeah.
And a lot of
We
guys
spoke about
make that. Yeah.
spoke about that the other day too, of how women need
Alignment.
direction. Yeah, and to be able to agree on where you're going. Because if you have 2 split different visions, you're just pulling each other apart,
Hmm.
hanging on to the
Or
same rope.
holding somebody's holding the other person back,
Mhm.
you know. It's important for women to find good men and
Yeah.
cherish good men, definitely.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of women take good men for granted, you know. So much so that what I've been taught is being a good man isn't enough. You need to be better at being a man. So that's what I've been practicing. You
Mhm.
know, I'm still in that, still doing that. I'm
Mhm.
not where I want to be, and I'm gonna keep going. You know, um, but women cherish that and have respect for the man who's good because that nobility will. I mean, I'm already seeing it with the younger kids. It'll start disappearing. You know, I don't think I've ever told you this, darling. But you know what I tell guys all the time?
Mm.
There was always, ever since I was younger, like there was a movie that came out with Mel Gibson called What Women Want. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, I haven't. It was the one where, like, he could read women's thoughts, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the
Um,
movie, but, like, I've seen clips and stuff like that here and there.
I always thought that was fascinating as hell. I watched it so many times because I always wanted to know. Like I always felt like I had to sort of anticipate a woman's needs because that's the way I grew up. I had to do
Mhm.
that for mom. Because if I didn't, like, I'd get in trouble. Like, I'd have
Yeah,
to
because
figure that out.
you dialed up your empathetic abilities,
Correct.
so you can see what everybody else was feeling. Yeah.
Yes, correct. And I had to learn how to navigate that. Um, Not just with her, but with my aunts and my grandma. Um, and see the pattern, recognize it so that I can, be safe in that and navigate it safely. Um, so I was fascinated with that movie, and I've read, one of the first books I ever read, like all the way through,
Mm.
was more about that, more about the women's sexuality, understanding that because like most men, we can't wrap our head around it. We just don't get it,
I don't
you
think
know.
women can wrap their head around it.
I got a really good grasp of it now. Um, but this is what I tell guys because they're like, well, what does she want? What does she want? She doesn't know what she wants. Women don't know what they want. Okay.
Okay, so you've told me
Well,
that, but you haven't told me the part about, like, the movie and everything like that, where
yeah,
that actually comes from, so that makes sense.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's older than that. I mean, but guys are always trying to figure out what women want, and the reality is, and this is what I heard from my mentor. He says this all the time: is she wants to want what you want. So figure out what the fuck you want, and that's the power of us men, because that's very true. If we want something and we're going for it, and you're like, wow, that's actually sounds amazing.
Mhm,
I want that too, you know, and you keep you going for that consistently and you're reaching for it and it feels good because you're winning, right? Like it feels great. And you're like, that's me. That's part of me. I want that. But then when a woman feels like, oh, like this is so hard, I don't want that anymore. I want something else. Like I don't know what I want. Maybe I want this, right? These thoughts come up. The fantasy plays, story unfolds, right? And how, this is why I also like to say women are emotional creatures because their emotions will, their feelings about things are actually more in control than the rational side.
yeah,
Okay. Now, this is for feminine, a more feminine woman. Our
mhm,
masculine woman knows how to control that, suppress that part of it, and go get rational. Okay. So, I mean, more of the feminine. The feminine is emotional, not women.
yeah,
Um, and because of that, making the wrong move, making the wrong decision about something can
mhm.
seem so fatal and scary. I don't know, like what if if I want that or that, like what's right, what should I do? You know? So this is why if you can trust a man to do that, to make that decision, and you're like, okay, I believe in his direction, his decision about this, like I see him,
Mhm.
that, I feel him, I trust him, I can orbit this feels great, I feel safe with him physically, emotionally. Um, you're gonna follow that, you know, and that's how you become one.
And you set that tone for us in the very beginning of our relationship. Like, one of the very first conversations we had when we started dating, you were like, "I will not sacrifice my purpose and my vision for you at all. So if there's at any point where I feel like you're holding me back, I will let you go. And there's nothing to you. I don't take offense to it. And I still love you and I still wish you the best. But we aren't aligned. And unless we're going in the same direction, it's not going to work." And so from the very beginning, off the hop, I was like, all right, this guy knows where he's going. We both agree that we want to go there. We both agree that we want to grow and build together. Let's go and do that. And so when you said that, I was like, ooh, I'm on board. I was like, "Finally,
Yeah,
about
I mean,
damn
like,
time."
yeah, get on the train or get off. It's fine. You don't have to. I'm not gonna throw you off.
Yeah.
I'll let you off gently, as gently as I can let you off.
Just
You know,
there you go.
yeah. So, I mean, all in all, that video, um, yeah, he made some really great points about a lot of things, but
Mhm.
the confusion about, and I feel like I'm just getting hung up on that chicken or the egg thing. It's just because the masculine freaking leads. And now there's a lot of conscious women out there who will totally disagree with that.
Mhm.
You know, um, they said the feminine leads. Like, no, the feminine is the one who leads. Like, yeah.
There are different perspectives to it, and I can see where they're coming from. Like, for example, like I've heard many times from like conscious women or female gurus that um, the submissive is the one in power, and so I think that's where women get that sense of control, and then they flip it, and then that's where their masculinity kicks in of like, "Okay, I'm in control. I have to do all these things because that's what being a leader and being in control means," instead of actually being soft and in their feminine and being able to help support and guide their partner. Because sure, women, they do have a lot of power in the submissive. Like, I 100% agree with that, but only when you don't have malicious intent. When you're like, "I'm gonna seduce this person so they do what I want," that's a completely different thing. Submitting to someone and being on board with them and supporting them, yes, that gives them her power and that gives your man power. It strengthens the unity. Ugh, tongue-tied.
I what I feel like, and this is what the deeper truth that I understand about this after questioning whether or not that was true. And, you know, for a good month, for a few months, I did a lot of contemplation about this idea that the feminine leads.
Mhm.
And it's very seductive. It sounds great. Like I could take my hand off the wheel, I can be in my creative space, you know. But the truth of the matter is that where that leads is ruin because emotions don't lead. They don't. Because the moment that conflict arises, it scrambles. It doesn't know what to do. And conflict is a part of our existence. And we can't get around that. The reason why conflict is part of our existence is because fear exists. If fear didn't exist, if it wasn't a thing, we wouldn't have conflict.
Yeah, the world would be so different.
Yeah. And that's where that comes from too. Every time I've been confronted with that fact, where is this coming from? Well, the feminine leads, where's that coming from? Fear. It's coming from a place of a loss of control. Right?
Mhm.
So you're right. The masculine comes in and says, no, this is it, and it comes in an unhealthy way too. It comes in domineering instead of dominant, centered, steady, and sure of itself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, and I think I mentioned this in the last episode too, that we've talked about our dynamic quite a bit of like who leads and who doesn't lead. And like I would say 95% of the time it's you is what I would say. And there are moments where I'm like, okay, this is the game plan. This is what we're doing. Like, this is it. And like, it's not very often, but when both of us are in a chaotic place, I'm like, okay, something needs to happen. And it, like I said, it doesn't happen very often. So I want your opinion on that. Because I know you just said that the masculine is supposed to lead and men are supposed to lead. Um, so with us,
So when I say that, what I mean is what it leads with. All right. I mean, because it just leads. What's that mean? It's in power. It's in control. What does that mean? Okay. What I mean by that is that the masculine is the thing that sort of sets the parameters. Okay. And I'm not purely masculine, right? I'm a little bit of both. Right. Well, a lot of masculine, a little bit of feminine. Right? And there are times when whatever is I'm emotional, so I can't lead in that moment. But what I mean by leading is setting the tone and setting the parameter.
yeah, in the
This is
relationship,
yeah, of for myself.
yeah,
Okay. So when and as a leader, that's where it starts. Leadership starts with self,
mhm,
you know. And a real leader, honestly, they don't feel worthy of leadership. They don't. It's not something that they're given. They're called to it. It's not something that they go seek out. Okay. Otherwise, the people who seek out leadership, like, and I was this guy at one point. They just want to be a boss. They want to be in control. They want power. They want to manage. They want to be able to say. They want to feel. They want status. You know. And I remember being super hungry for that. But I also knew that inside of me was like I had to learn how to navigate that because inside of me I had a benevolent leadership in me, okay, to be able to lead myself, to pull myself out of shit, to be able to like be the rock in like really crazy situations. Like I had that within me, you know, the first to jump in and take risks and put my life on the line kind of thing. Um, and it's so if you're demonstrating that and you're taking command in charge of yourself, you're demonstrating leadership. And if you're doing that, other people are going to follow you. You're not seeking followers, you know,
yeah,
you're just moving and you're like creating this gravity with you, and other people are coming along,
mhm,
you know. So that's what it means to lead.
true,
Yeah. And the best leaders, they don't lead from the front,
yeah,
they lead from the side of the pack or behind the pack, making sure no one's left behind, you know. Those are true leaders.
mhm,
So there are times when you do that, you know. You see that I need help, or I'm not quite up to par in the moment, or and what do? You you're like, hey, this isn't you right now. Whatever's going on with you, Let me step in and be you for a moment and remind you of who you are. That's when you leave me, you know? The circumstances and the chaos and everything else that we've experienced. That leadership in that context, it doesn't even matter. I don't I don't see it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm the provider. I'm the one who's supposed to protect you, and it's not that critical.
Because no. And in those situations, I never see it that way either. But I wanted to clarify as well because I know, like, it's been mentioned on here and people might get confused with that of like, okay, well, what's actually said and what is the relationship actually like? And for me, in those moments when I do step up and lead and remind you who you are, it's an honor for me to do that because I'm like, it's just a moment as of right now that you need me. And then you go 10 times farther once I do remind you. And I'm like, yes, there you are. And for me to be able to get you back to that headspace of like, all right, I got this. Like, I don't think you realize how much it fills me up so much. Because I love to see you succeed. I love to see you do well and to be in your masculine and to be so in your purpose that you're like, nothing is stopping me. And for me to be able to just come back to you and recenter you and be like, hey, like, you got this. And to be able to remind you of the man you actually are and the king that you are to me, to be able to go out and do those amazing things, like, it just fills me up. And it always has.
Thank you, Tyrone.
You're welcome,
Me
babe.
too. Yeah, we never really talked about that.
No.
It's happened. It's happened quite a few times. I've always been really appreciative of that. And I see how you respond. You know, when I'm on purpose. You know, yeah, that's like the gift that keeps on giving. You know, as I feel like the feminine in you is like celebrating it and like enjoying the ride. You know, it's quite a phenomenon, and I always feel rewarded. So
How so?
it's been validating. Rather than being punished for it. In contrast, which I have been in the past
Hmm.
for being on purpose or trying to figure out what that is, which is the same thing, you know. Um,
Well, both of us have grown up in environments where purpose wasn't a thing. It was always go and get a 9 to 5, get the job, get the house, buy the car. Like,
Yeah,
for
shit
my family,
proof.
it was
Yeah.
very much less don't get married until you're, like, 30 or 40, but that's
Mhm.
their personal fear.
Yeah.
Um, but I know what it's like to go after something and not have people support you, and the last thing I wanna be is that partner that's like, "Eh, do you wanna do that? Are you sure about that? That's a big risk to take, this, that, and the other thing." No, if you're passionate about it and you believe that this is gonna work out and you're gonna do whatever it takes to get there, doesn't matter the time or what needs to be done, go and do it, and I'm gonna stand beside you the entire time.
Yeah. Or how many times I fail.
Hmm?
Or how many times I fail.
Yeah. Pick yourself up and go again.
Mm. Yep.
There have been times where, especially the last few months, where it's been difficult for both of us, and you'll say something like, "I almost thought about getting a 9 to 5," and I'm like, "Don't you dare." Like, I know you need to, like, take care of yourself, and I'm not saying don't, and if you have to, you have to, like, you gotta do whatever you gotta do, but on the same hand, I'm like, I always say after that, "If that's what you have to do for now and it's temporary, fine, but don't you dare give up on your vision."
Yeah, that's the problem is if I'm swinging on a pendulum like that, it's actually crushing my soul.
What do you mean?
Can't do it. I can't go work for money that way. I, I'm in a position where I don't need to do that.
Mhm.
I can align myself up with something that I believe in. I've set myself up for that. So that's what I did,
Yeah,
you know, got back into GA.
yeah, and I know you're gonna do phenomenal there. You already are. You're off to a good start.
Yeah. And still building my thing out and working on that too at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm figuring it out. Yeah.
And I'll be cheering you all the way across the screen
For now.
for